I'll bet when you clicked play on this update, you didn't expect a lesson in physics. Welcome to the Skywatch TV studios. I'm Gilbert. Our guest today is the author of this fascinating new book, Cherubim, Chariots, Exploring the Extra-Dimensional Hypothesis. And in our last discussion, we were talking about the extra-dimensional nature of the Garden of Eden and its guardians, the cherubims that were placed to the east with the flaming sword to keep humans from approaching it. In the book, you talk about the extra-dimensional hypothesis. Let's touch on that first of all. What is the extra-dimensional hypothesis, and how is that different from what, say, UFO researchers, ufologists might be looking for?
Sure. Well, most UFO researchers subscribe to the extraterrestrial hypothesis, which says that UFOs and their pilots come from another planet, basically. The extra-dimensional hypothesis, there are a few out there that that subscribe to that. Not only Christians, there are serious UFO researchers such as Jacques Vallée that subscribe to the EDH, or extra-dimensional hypothesis, which says basically the UFOs and their pilots come from a higher dimension rather than another planet. Mm-hmm. And I tend to subscribe to that as well, as do most Christians who study this, because when we really look at the terminology, the word spiritual and the word extra-dimensional are basically synonymous. They mean the exact same thing when we look at the Bible and things like physics. So in a nutshell, that's what the EDH, extra-dimensional hypothesis, and the ETH, extraterrestrial hypothesis states.
And by contrast, there are some secular researchers who would look for the interdimensional hypothesis, which says that there are parallel universes and we can transport between those. So basically, we're looking for something that's operating in more dimensions than we, in our limited 3 or 4, if you include linear time, are 4-dimensional perceptions. So you described the cherubim in our last discussion, and we know from the Bible that they've got 4 faces: human, lion, ox, and eagle. How is that, and with the multitude of wings, and how is their extra-dimensional nature then manifest in our dimension? I mean, is it our limited perception that sees them with these multitude of faces? Well, what's going on here?
Yeah, absolutely. In Ezekiel's vision, that's the best example we have of what I call extra-dimensional unfolding. And the idea is you take something from a higher dimension and unfold it into a lower dimension, so denizens of the lower dimension can understand it.
So like taking a cube and then cutting it open and then unfolding it down flat so that a 2-dimensional person could understand what a 3-dimensional cube looks like.
Absolutely, yeah, and it would have the shape of a cross. And the 2-dimensional being would be able to look at that. They might not be able to put together the cube shape, but they would still have the information. So when we see something from a higher dimension unfold into our 3 dimensions of space, we see the same thing. And that's why in Ezekiel's vision we have these 4 cherubim, but they're melded together in a lot of different ways. It says they basically share one leg and their wings are melded together. And I actually say in the book, I think that there's a double unfolding. It's from at least the 5th spatial dimension. If it was just the 4th, they wouldn't need to take up the same space like that. Just like going down from a cube to the flat, the cross, there's no taking up of the same space.
Right.
Now, if we were to take a hypercube, which is a 4th-dimensional cube, and unfold that to a tesseract, which would be the 3-dimensional perspective, which is basically a cross with 2 extra. And then if we were to unfold that again to a 2-dimensional, we have a double unfolding, and that would start taking up the same space.
Okay.
So at the very least, I believe that these things are 5th dimensional, if not all the way from the top, which is more biblical. So we're definitely looking at something extra-dimensional here.
So as a 2-dimensional being, I'm looking at the surface of this book, and I see a cube as just a line.
Well, you'd see it as a square, but
as a square.
From your perspective, it would just be a line, right?
And then when you try to fold that unfolded cube, which, as you say, is basically the shape of a cross, as this folds up into this, essentially it would disappear from my perspective.
Absolutely.
So as we look at these extra-dimensional beings, as they move in and out of our 3rd dimension, parts of their aspect would appear and then disappear.
Yep, absolutely. And
defying the laws of physics as we understand it.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting that is so commonly reported with the UFO phenomenon, that a lot of these UFOs, they phase in and out of existence, they show up in 2 places at once, they do all these things that should be physically impossible, but if we add the extra-dimensional aspect, it would be completely possible to them, just as if we were to stick our finger in a 2-dimensional plane.
Fascinating discussion. Again, you didn't expect a lesson from physics, a lesson of physics. Cherubim Chariots, the new book by Josh Peck. He'll be an upcoming guest on Skywatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert.